Okay. Hey, good evening, everybody. Nancy and Clark Peterson here. And we're so happy you're with us because tonight is going to be hopefully something will click for you. We know it did for us when we were working on it. So this is element two. But before we jump into that, we just want to quickly tell our story. So over about almost 6 years ago now, I lost 45 pounds. And the great thing is I have kept it off. And we keep moving towards better health all the time. So I was a yo-yo dieter my whole life. And I was always up and down 40, 50 pounds, right? Sometimes a little more, you don't want to admit it, but that happens. And to be able to not only lose the weight, it took me about 3.5 months, but to maintain that for this long tells you there's something different about this program. And it's this is part of it, what you're on tonight and what we're going to be recording. And you want
Yeah,
to share
so
yours?
Nancy started in December, and I started in January of the next year, and lost 70 pounds in 5 months, and have kept it off since that time. And it's almost 6 years for me also, and it's been amazing. Doesn't mean that I didn't gain a few back and had to lose,
Right before the wedding.
right before the wedding. Wedding diet blues is what I had. No, anyway, uh, anyway, but virtually kept it off, and anyway, it's been exciting, but not just the weight loss, but my clothes fit. I can move better. I have energy that I didn't have. I mean, all of those are also great and wonderful things. And I think probably the highest value me is mindset that's just changed,
Yes.
that is continually changing. So that is a very valuable thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. That really does impact your health.
yeah.
Exactly what you think. So we want to share just a couple other things. For a lot of years, we said, Optavia had helped over 2 million people. Well, Optavia has helped over 3 million people now. And we're not saying every single person reached their goal because it's really up to the individual. But what we know is most people do. And what we know is when they lean into all four parts of the program, including what we're doing tonight, that's what's a lifelong transformation. Because unless you change your thought process, you go back to your old habits. So, what this transformation is about is changing your thought process so that you don't do the old habits. You're creating new, healthy habits.
Right.
Okay.
Versus habits of what Dr. A calls habits of disease.
Yes,
Yeah.
habits of disease. And you'll hear us use that term, and we see it every day in coaching clients. So we see people go off insulin. I mean, and I talk a lot about my brother. He was on 8 medications, four for blood pressure, four for diabetes. He is off all of that except for one blood pressure medication. That's substantial.
It is
I mean,
substantial.
honestly, I feel like I saved my brother's life because the whole diabetes things was that it's a terrible disease. So, so what we're doing is we're creating health here. Yes, you'll lose weight, but we want to create great health. So we want to tell you real quickly about this new product that's coming out because you're going to start seeing some things on it starting next week. Now, Optavia, it's always been about fuelings, which basically are just a great way to get to a healthy weight because it's got the nutrition you need to get you there in a way that you're not going to lose muscle mass, you're not going to lose bone mass, you're going to have all the nutrients you need. But now what they're doing is they put out a amino acid um, mixture, basically. They released it about a month ago, coaches only. It's called Active, and I want you to know it was all new to us. We didn't know anything about amino acids, okay? We didn't know we needed them. And so, and I know people that were deeper into health years ago maybe know about it, but here's what amino acids do. They repair muscle, they build muscle. And what you need to know is starting around age 30, going forward, you lose muscle as you get older. Okay. It's one of the reasons they want you to do some strength training, right? Well, amino acids help to build that muscle, repair the muscle. So when you do exercise, I don't know about you, but when I used to try to exercise and my muscles hurt so bad, then it discourages you from continuing, right? What these do is you don't have that soreness. It's amazing. You don't have a soreness. But there's something else we found that they do that just it threw us off. Okay, so I used to experience like vertigo. I'd get a little dizzy when I got up, and I had been doing that for maybe a year. This is before I knew Clark, okay? And I was like, well, my dad had vertigo, must be running the family. I'd get up and I'd be dizzy and then it would stop. And I thought, well, I'm getting older. And maybe that's what was going on. Well, not expecting it at all. We started the amino acids. We got back from convention at the end of or beginning of August. The very first day I was on it, my dizziness stopped. And I have only got dizzy one time since then. It's been a month now. And it was because I forgot to take them that day. And so we're like, why? Why would that happen? So we started to research into what could possibly have done that, right? And what it was is amino acids actually help you to absorb nutrients that you're taking in. So a lot of times when we're eating things or taking in good nutrition, we think it's all going to our body. But sometimes you don't absorb certain nutrients, even though you've taken them in. And I had no idea about this. So when we researched it, we found that what can cause dizziness is if you are not getting enough D and B vitamins. Now we know with our diet we're getting them, but what that told me was for some reason my body was not absorbing them. Soon as I took the amino acids, it was like magic. It obviously did something to my body that I started to absorb those nutrients and no more dizziness. I'm telling you, it's wonderful to get up in the morning and not have dizziness when you get out of bed in the morning. So anyway, I can't guarantee anything. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just telling you that these have been a real bonus for us. And they're coming out on the 13th of September. So we just want you to know about it so that if you see it, you'll know what that's about. And if you have questions, you can always ask us about that. But we're going to recommend them to everybody only because they've made a big difference for us. But, again, that's all optional. But I think that even if you check with a doctor, I think they're going to encourage you to do that. So, this is what we know. And we kind of talked a little bit about this last week. But September to us is kind of like a second New Year. So it's like, how you have New Year's resolutions, right? And you're like, okay, this year, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to do all this. Well, what we've noticed is a lot of people look at September like that as kind of the second New Year because they're done with vacations, right? They're done with company coming during the summer. Kids are back in school. And so September is it's like a fresh start. We know the new year's coming. We know we made maybe resolutions first of the year and maybe we didn't get to them. And so we still have 4 months at the end of the year. And so this is our opportunity to make good for this year, for 2023, right? So there's kind of this enthusiasm about health. So we're really happy to start the elements again. So we started from the beginning. There's 26 of them. And this is where we start to change habits, right? So last week was element 1, and it was all about your why. And just to capsulize it, kind of where we came down to with element one was this. In order to really be motivated to get to where you want to go, that why has to be really connected to something deep inside of you. So, I mean, a lot of people, like for me, I was like, oh, I just want to look better, I just want to feel a little better and all that. Now it's like, I really want to be healthy. This is like, this is really important to me. I have 16 grandchildren. We've got 8 kids between us. I have a lot to live for. I want to be in the best shape possible to enjoy that, right? That's really important to me. But this was the key phrase last week. What we said was, does your why inspire you to go beast mode? Meaning, I know that's a funny phrase, beast mode, but the reason I shared that is that's what it took for me. And I think that's what it takes for anybody. And what I mean by that is I was so determined to do that, that even when there was, someone
Girl
offered me
Scout
ice
cookies.
cream, there was Girl Scout cookies, and I love my old Girl Scouts, and I always bought those Thin Mints, and then I'd eat the whole box. No matter what, I had to say, I'm going to give you $5 for your Girl Scouts, but I'm not taking the cookies. I'm not taking those cookies. It was so important to me. And I think you felt the same
Oh
way.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was determined to make it work and to follow the program. And there was challenges. Went on vacation during that time, lost 10 pounds on vacation, but it was I was determined. I was
And
not,
tell them why that.
well, my wife passed away and in October of 2017, and my dad died when he was 58 years old, and I was 50. I was coming up on that, and my kids needed a dad. They needed a dad, and so that's 6 years later, 5 years later, and they still have a dad, and I'm going to be around a while.
Healthier than
Yeah,
ever.
healthier than ever.
Yeah. So I really want to challenge you to go beast mode, to say, no, this is really important to me. Because when you do that, then it's not this like pulling you in both directions. So often you're like, well, my girlfriend brought the homemade bread and I couldn't resist. And, it's all these reasons. But when you're in beast mode, when you're in determination mode, where you're like, no, my health right now, this is what I'm doing. My health is that important to me. I'm going to do this. There'll always be another loaf of bread later. So that's just want to encourage you. Okay, so tonight though, we're going to talk about element two, and that's knowing what you want to accomplish. God bless you.
I don't know.
All right. All right. So we're going to start to talk about how to execute the strategy in starting that process. Okay. This is what I love about Dr. Anderson. He, if you don't have the life book, just want to say, I recommend you get it. $18 on Amazon. Yeah, there you go, Betty. $18 on Amazon, or you can get it through Optavia. But there's 2 books that usually Optavia sells together. You don't have to have them, but I find this one. This is all about the habits. I find this one really valuable, and you can get it through, like I said, Amazon for $18. I mean, it's not like crazy, right? Anyway, one of the things he said is letting another week, month, or year slip by without making the decision to intervene and take control of your life is just too easy. I mean, it's like, doesn't that happen to us, right? It just happens. So what we're going to talk about tonight is, what is that strategy to get you to start, right? To get you
Right.
to start. And so one of the things to take into consideration when we're going there, when we're starting to move in that direction, is what Clark talked about a little bit, is the difference between habits of health versus habits of disease. Okay. Habits of health versus habits of disease. So sometimes we don't look at it like that. Sometimes we look at it like, oh, here's my habits to lose weight. Here's my habits to enjoy all these foods and this lifestyle I've been doing. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
That's how we look at it. That's wrong. That's a wrong way to look at it because the reality is the way we have been living, if we aren't already experiencing some kind of disease from it, we will. Whatever it is, it could be just joint problems. It could be blood pressure, could be diabetes, it could be a lot of things, right? And you may not see it happening right now, but it's going to happen because, well, we're going to talk, later elements about this, but like sugar is like, yeah, we all love sugar, but it is detrimental to your health, truly.
Yeah, and Dr. A talked about when he was when he was doing medical treatments for people, and he was like the top tier critical care doctor, top 10 critical care doctor in America. He saw people coming in with diseases that were preventable.
Yeah.
And they were preventable by changing the habits of health. And that's what frustrated him to the point where I got to step away from this. And so that's why we compare those two statements.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing with habits of disease, okay, so let's just talk. Habits of health are the things we're learning in this program. And it's not just what you eat. So it's the water you drink, it's the sleep, it's how you process stress, it's relational, let's community. It incorporates a lot. But habits of disease look like, you ever see those commercials on TV?
Late night.
Just take that particular um,
Right.
pill,
Yeah.
right? And you will live a thriving life, even though what it's doing is just basically keeping your disease maybe at bay for a little bit, right? That doesn't really create health. It's more of a band-aid for it, right? But it's interesting how they make the commercials look like these wonderful, thriving people, right? It's like, no, they're not doing good things for their body. Okay, so that's something. Also, the side effects of medications. I mean, my brother would just be so upset if I told you this, but I'm going to tell you that one of his medications for diabetes, one of the side effects was incontinence. And he never told me that until he went on the program. And a week or so into the program, he started going off his diabetes medications. And all of a sudden, he wasn't incontinent. And he called me and he thought it was the program. He said, I don't know what's in this program, but I can't believe it. I'm not incontinent anymore. And I said, I don't think it's the program, but but he went to the doctors and the doctor told him it was a side effect of the medication. He thought he was going to have to wear Depends for the rest of his life. That's a terrible thing. And he's very vital. He works for the Luis Palau organization. He's very active out there. He did not want that as something he had to deal with. So anyway, all that to say, habits of disease is not that very innocent, I just like to have my ice cream every night. Okay, guys? It is not good for your body. All right. That doesn't mean you can't have your ice cream once in a blue moon. You just don't make a habit of that, right? That's not your habit. Your habit is to eat healthy. All right. So here's my question to you. Do you believe you can reach good health and well-being? I love it. They're shaking their head. Yes. Great. Good. We have all yeses. If anyone said no, I would say, look, we know you can. So when we talk to a potential client and they're like, well, I've tried everything, I tell them in full confidence, this program will work for you. If you work this program, I promise this will work for you. And how I know that is I was hopeless and it worked for me. And we see people over and over again losing lots of weight. In fact, Karen, I don't know if you guys can see Karen on the screen. Karen lost, how much did you lose, Karen?
90 pounds.
90 pounds. And that is a huge accomplishment. And keeping it off, right? And keeping it off.
And she's a health coach.
And she's a health coach now. So that's great. So yeah, so it works. We have lots of clients that have lost over 100. We work with one coach. We just saw him today, and he lost 200 pounds
In 1 year.
1 year. Yeah, which I thought that was pretty. But you know, those men, they always lose faster.
Those men.
Those men. Anyway, all right. So it sounds like on a scale of 1 to 10, you guys are a 10 for being healthy. And that is, again, that is super important. So if we're wanting to create lifelong transformation, we need to understand a very important principle. Okay. There is the principle of the pleasure principle versus lasting satisfaction.
Pleasure versus
Satisfaction.
satisfaction.
Okay, this was eye-opening for us. So when you go and you decide, no, I'm going to eat that half-gallon ice cream, not that you guys would ever do that, but I would. But when you eat that, I'm telling you my experience. So when I would eat a bunch of ice cream, for whatever reason, I was upset over something, I was bored, the TV went on, that's always a good reason. So
I like sugar.
when that was over, okay, after the last bite, I would want more, or I wouldn't feel good, or I never felt like there was a lasting good effect. However, when I made healthy choices, when I went out for that walk, when I
Chose to eat healthy.
eat
To,
healthy,
um,
get a good
fuel
night's
your
sleep.
body versus feed your emotion.
Yeah. When I made those choices that were good for me, that lasted past when I did it. There was a satisfaction. So
That lasted
yes, it
into
lasted.
the next day.
Right. And I never really, until I read this, I never really understood that concept. Because you don't think of it that way necessarily, right? And many times you don't even think of it, right? You just do it. But if you stop, challenge, and choose what you're going to do, realizing that if you eat this thing right now, there might be temporary pleasure, and there will be, right? Because I'm telling you, when you eat sugar, whether it is in the form of a white flour or processed sugar, there is an endorphins that are released. It's almost like a drug, and you get this pleasure center, right, from it. However, when you make the choice to do something good for your health, and you understand that that satisfaction is going to be so much more rewarding because it's going to carry on for a long period of time. When I understood that, it was easier to make the better decision. Does that make sense to you guys? It's not instant pleasure. It is making choices for long-term satisfaction. That is what creates habits that last a lifetime, because you realize the satisfaction is worth it. It's worth it.
They did studies. They've done studies in education where they were had two control groups, and one set of kids that were 3 and 5 years old were given marshmallows, and the ones who decided to wait, and if they chose to wait and delay immediate gratification, they got a different reward. But those who ate the marshmallow right away, got pleasure, moved on. 15 to 20 years later, the ones who delayed their satisfaction, delayed their pleasure, and waited were 15 times more successful in life than those who took immediate pleasure. Absolutely true.
Wow. Okay. Well, another reason to move in that direction, right? Okay. So, thing is, we confuse things that bring us immediate pleasure with the things that lead. That we get confused with all that,
We do.
because somehow we think that immediate pleasure is going to be lasting. It's not. It's fleeting. It's fleeting. Now, this, we're people of faith, right? And so it so ties in to your faith, right? It
Yes.
so ties in. So that instant pleasure of whatever that sin is does not bring long-term satisfaction, right? Making those choices to follow Jesus is long-term satisfaction. That's okay. So how do we do this? What's the strategy? What do we do? Right? So what we teach is there are 6 macro habits that we're going to have you work on. Macro habits, okay?
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, they're the big ones. And what your homework is we're going to tell you those macro habits, and we want you during the week to write down a couple, 2, 3 things you would change in that particular macro habit. So let's give you an example. Healthy motion. That's one macro habit. Healthy motion. So if you are going to make changes there to make it a healthier situation for yourself, what would you do? Next one, healthy sleep. Next one, healthy mind, your thought process.
Dealing with stress.
Dealing with
That's what that
stress.
one's about.
Mhm. Healthy surroundings. I hate to say this, but there are some friends I had that really worked against me with me changing my healthy habits. Now, some of them I just made a statement, I'm going to go out with you guys, but I just won't be having ice cream with you or whatever it was, right? But there are some that they are relentless, right? And it's like for a while I had to kind of cool being with them.
It's like stopping drinking.
Yeah, it's just
When I stop drinking, people, come on, Clark, come on. And I go, no.
no. Next one, healthy eating and hydration. So this is your nutrition and your water intake every day. Okay, it's number 5. And the last one, 6, is healthy weight management. That's basically your BMI and what else? Your circumference. So just being able to manage that.
Yeah.
Being able to manage that. So most people, when they're about to lose weight or trying to lose weight, the first thing they work on is the macro habit of healthy eating and hydration. So depending on where you are in your journey, that might be, if you're beginning, that might be where you want to start. Okay.
So we're asking them to choose one of these, right?
Yes, we're asking you to choose one to work on. Now, I do want you to write down 2 or 3 things you'd want to change in each of them, but you want to focus in on one. The whole idea of changing your habits is you cannot, and I want to repeat that, You cannot change all your habits at one time. Changing habits takes time, needs to be simple, needs to be worked on one at a time. So a good example is when we first started losing weight, it was like, look, you can lose the weight and not move, do extra exercise or do motion. Well, we accomplished the nutrition and the hydration, but now we're working on the motion. So that's the macro habit. That's a big focus for Clark and I right now. So get out and walk. We're moving a lot more. We're starting. There is an app that will come out when the amino acids come out, and they've worked with a special price for the app, and that you guys can get it or not. You might want to use a different app to you.
The tap price.
Yes, like half price. It's like $49 for the year. But the app is amazing. It's got like 7,000 different options for types of workout, and we admit they're really fun.
Yeah.
Because you can choose the music it goes with. You can choose the level, how much time, and you just follow it. It's like having your own personal trainer.
Talk you through the whole
And they
thing.
talk you through the whole thing. So we really enjoy it because we even use it when we go out walking. And it's interesting because the music that you choose, you end up finding you pace yourself to the music. So it's making, because sometimes, you guys may not be this way, but I get bored with exercise. So it's fun for me when there's music and someone's talking and we're doing it together. And then at the
You're
end,
learning something.
right?
Yeah.
And at the end, they're like, yeah, good job, So, yeah. So you guys, when that comes out, that's just another option for you. But, so that's kind of the place we're starting with today. And we'll talk more next week, but we want you to really choose the macro habit that you're going to work on. If you have questions, check with your health coaches. And I think all you guys were connected to you. So you can reach out to us if you have questions, or if you have questions now, that's fine too. So did you guys pick up a little something tonight? Yeah, good.
It might be you don't have to do this, but sometimes what we've been encouraged by our coaches is to text them what we're doing so that we're accountable. So you can text us if you want to and say, I'm working on motion, or I'm working on sleep. And so that, we're just accountable to each other. You don't have to, but sometimes it works good.
And we're not the exercise police.
No.
We'll come after you if you
No.
don't exercise. We promise.
No.
So, all right. Well, we appreciate that you guys took time out of your holiday to come on. We realized after we planned this that we're like, what did we do that on a holiday? But anyway, we did, and that's okay. And next week it won't be. So hopefully we'll see you all on and a few more. So you guys have a good night.
Happy holiday.